we're back. I'm gonna keep this brief. Kale and Evan are talking about the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism this week, as well as the Noble Eightfold Path. I don't really have much to add, so I'm just gonna let them do their thing. Thanks for listening.
All right. Hello to everybody that's listening. Today is just going to be me and Evan. We're going to talk about the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. So to get right into it, the first noble truth is the noble truth of suffering. The second one is the truth of the cause of suffering. The third is the truth of the stopping of suffering. And the last is the truth of the way which leads to the stopping of suffering. So the word that I translated as suffering here is in Pali dukkha. Evan, do you want to explain why there might be a problem with that?
Yeah, so the way is just stated, or like a good way to understand dukkha is like unsatisfactoriness. So that just keep that in mind when we're talking about it, that it's not just suffering or sorrow or stress. It's also that it's unsatisfactory is the word that I like to use. And then I just wanted to start us off with something that one of the Buddha's chief disciples said in one of the texts. This is Sariputta. He says, "Friends, just as the footprints of all-legged animals are encompassed by the footprint of the elephant, and the elephant's footprint is reckoned the foremost among them in terms of size, in the same way all skillful qualities are gathered under the Four Noble Truths." So I think this really just sums it up, that these Four Noble Truths are like the essence of the Buddhist teaching.
Yeah, that's good. So the first one is that all existence is dukkha. So birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, contacting unpleasant is dukkha, and separation from the pleasant. Basically, all conditioned phenomena are dukkha. So why is that, I guess? Like, what is it about the conditioning? First of all, I guess, what are conditioned phenomena?
Yeah, so everything that like you could experience is conditioned. So like for example, a tree has as its conditions for existence like the soil and water and sunlight. So without any of those conditions, it wouldn't exist. So basically, that's what meant by conditioned phenomena. And I would say that like these are dukkha because like they're impermanent. So you can't find ultimate like satisfaction from something that is impermanent.
Right. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, like if you're looking for lasting satisfaction from something that doesn't last, then that just is illogical, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So does that mean that like suffering is inherent, or I guess like we said, suffering's not really the right translation, but is suffering inherent in our experience, like in the world?
Yeah, I would. The way I understand this, I would say yes. That it is something that characterizes our existence and the world. Because as we'll see,
Okay.
like in the other ones that like the other noble truths, that it's like the attachment to these things that are impermanent that also leads to suffering. So maybe we want to go into the second noble truth for that one.
Yeah. So the second one is that all suffering stems from craving, which in turn leads to rebirth and the continuation of samsara. Yeah, do you want?
Yeah, yes. Just another kind of word that is important that we understand, that like there's kind of something lost in translation, is like what you just talked about as craving, which like also is talked about as desire. Comes from the Pali tanha, which is like thirst. So it's not just like for example, like a desire to be a better person is not, that's not the desire we're talking about here. It's like, like the craving for alcohol or drugs or money, like that kind of attached desire. That is the
Like you need it
yeah,
almost.
yeah. That's the one that causes suffering.
Mm. So it's like the need or like the strong desire for things to be a certain way, and they aren't that way.
Right. Yeah. So the Buddha talks about like the different kinds of cravings being for like cravings for sensual pleasures, cravings for becoming, or cravings for non-becoming. So sensual pleasures, pretty obvious, like the kind of the material things that I just said. But it's also like wanting things to be a certain way or to not be a certain way. So it's basically just not accepting things as they are is part of it.
Right. And that would include mind states, would it not? Um, like when you're sad, I guess, and you don't want to be sad, that's just gonna make you suffer, right?
Exactly, yeah. So we like you could say like farther along like the Buddhist path, like you could have sadness arise and not suffer from being sad. If I feel like that is kind of counterintuitive to most people, but eventually you would come to a point where it's just another just something that like comes up in your consciousness. There's no judgment, there's no attachment to it.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard people describe it as like just energy in your body. Like you could like you notice pain in your body and you don't like attach meaning to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. So that's the kind of the gist of this, that there's it's not the actual like emotion or sensation that is the suffering. It's your attachment, your clinging to it.
So I guess that leads us to the third noble truth, which is the truth of the stopping of sorrow, which I guess we kind of alluded to is the end of craving. So what does that mean? I guess.
Well, I mean, basically, like just saying that like there's a way to end suffering, and this is not something that is just like to be accepted, or something like that. Like there's actually an end to this suffering, like the cycle of rebirths in the Buddhist sense. Um, yeah, so I've also heard this like called like the noble truth of nirvana. Um, so and then nirvana being like um, I think some people have like called it like the blowing out, like the extinguishing of craving, which I think is a good way to think about it, like a flame being extinguished. Um, yeah, so that like is supposedly like the ultimate freedom and the goal of Buddhism basically.
Right. So once you reach nirvana, that's when like the flow of conditioned like phenomena stops, right? Things like cease to have conditions. It's just like unconditioned awareness, right?
Yes, I think so. The way I understand it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um. So like I was listening to Joseph Goldstein, and like he talks about how in like the state of nirvana, there's no self. Um. Can you explain what that means?
Um, I would. I feel like he might not have said exactly that, but I'll take you at it. But I would say that like
Okay.
the
Okay.
the Buddhist teaching is that there is already no self, and it's kind of ignorance. Once you realize that is when is in nirvana.
Sorry. Yeah. 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 That's a better way to
S-
put it.
Okay, yeah. So when the Buddhists talk about like no self, it's not that you don't exist, or yeah, like you still exist, but like you don't have a separate existence. Like like the true nature of yourself is that it's like dependent on everything else. So once, yeah, like it's like your ego is not some like actor sitting in your head. Like the thinker of thoughts is not real, basically.
Right. So you just kind of, you're like a witness to your experience almost. You're not the actor, or you stop trying to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like even there, saying that like identifying with the witness is still something that is not like Buddhists would say that that is also not right to even identify with that witness.
Why
Um,
is that? Uh, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before, but that's one I can't really wrap my head around.
right. Yeah. I mean, like it's because it's like I would say it's like impersonal at that point. It's like there's no what you think of as yourself is not that witness. So saying like I am the witness is like I is not that like your I is like located in your body or your ego, you know.
So you're just like attaching yourself to something else, like rather than letting it go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Weird. Okay. Um. So yeah, the fourth noble truth is the way which leads to the stopping of suffering. Um. So that is the noble eightfold path. I guess I'll just list them off real quick. That's right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Um, I just wanted to highlight a couple. So first of all, right view, um, or right intention. I want to talk about that because I think it like highlights the importance of setting our mental intention. And I mean, I don't know too much about like the Buddhist interpretation of this, but the way that I see it, um, like obviously everything starts with your intention, so that's like your foundation almost.
Right, yeah. I can't remember who said this, but it was like that um the like the destination depends on the first step and the first step also depends on the destination. So I think that is kind of what is meant by like setting your intentions, right? You know.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then second, I wanted to talk about right speech. I mean, we did two whole episodes basically on speech, so obviously we both think it's pretty important. But like, why is it a part of the Buddhist tradition? I guess.
That's kind of a tough one for me, but I think we kind of talked about why speech is important in those other episodes. But I like how like specifically in Buddhism, I think that you don't really find in many other philosophies is like um, kind of discouragement of like useless talk. Um,
Hmm.
I think the word is like sampapalapa, which is like kind of an onomatopoeia of it, you know, like um,
Yeah.
so like discouraging like just like mindless like chatter because it just wastes energy and like you're kind of just trying to say like here I am, you know. So I
Hmm.
like that about it.
And yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 I like that too. Um. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about right mindfulness. I mean, I think we've mentioned before, talked about a little bit about meditation or mindfulness training, and I'm as far as I know, Buddhism is like one of the foundational philosophies that goes into that kind of stuff. So I guess like, what about mindfulness facilitates the journey towards nirvana?
Yeah, I would say like mindfulness helps like with the discernment. So like it's kind of see how like these are all the steps are interconnected, and like the truth, like the Four Noble Truths are also interconnected. So like mindfulness helps lead to right view, and like right view lead to right speech, um,
Mm,
because as you become aware of like the nature of phenomena, that's the right view, and which comes from mindfulness. And then once you see that, like you can also, like if you're mindful of your speech, you can like do it correctly.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I also just want to say that like I like how the um, like there's no specific, maybe a little bit, but like there's not too much emphasis on any one part of the path. So it's not like it's like you can like reach the goal by only meditating. Like you have to
Mm,
develop the virtue and like the ethics and the wisdom too, in like in tandem with your practice. So I think that's
right,
really important too.
right. I think a lot of spiritual traditions like put at least some emphasis on that. Like it can't just be that you sit away and you're praying or you're meditating for hours on end and just thinking and all this stuff. There's a certain like conduct and actions that you have to go through to like balance it out and like reach that enlightenment.
Right, yeah, it's kind of like the balance between like ritual and like mysticism, I guess.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like you have like your um certain like religious rites and like rituals, um which are important for the culture and the like the ethical side of it. Um, but
Yeah,
without that kind of like living spirit in it, it doesn't lead anywhere. Like
the living
you have to put it into practice and incorporate it into your daily life.
right, because like at the end of the day, it's like it's meant to help you live a better life.
Yeah,
Like it's not just meant to be abstract ideas.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, like I feel like the kind of, if I could sum up what like I understand like of the Buddhist teachings, is that like it's ignorance of these like Four Noble Truths that leads to suffering. So I think that like what basically what do you think about the like relationship between ignorance and suffering?
I would agree with you. I can't really explain why. Mostly, I just like get the feeling that if you know like the true nature of reality, like we kind of talked about before, you see like the interconnectedness of things,
Right.
and like yeah, just the general like caring nature of reality, I guess, compassionate nature of reality.
Right. So you don't think that it's like evil or malevolence? Is that, does that also come from ignorance then, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I agree.
Um, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain why, but I just kind of get that feeling, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Uh, one more thing I wanted to ask you about was like for somebody that has never tried like meditation or never knew anything about this stuff, like where would be a good place to start?
Oh yeah. I use Sam Harris's meditation app, Waking Up. That's a really good one. Lots of information as well as lots of guided meditations. Um, Joseph Goldstein's podcast um, is really good for, like, I would say almost more like scholarly like analysis of the Buddhist like texts and teachings. So those are good too.
Mm.
I would say probably those are the top two. And then like Jon Kabat-Zinn is a really good writer. His book Wherever You Go, There You Are is kind of the one that got me started on meditation, and I would say it's mostly secular, if that's kind of um, like if people don't like the religious aspect of it, that's a really good resource.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Okay. Do you think that there is a benefit or drawback to removing the kind of metaphysical aspect of it, like secular mindfulness? Do you think that that is obviously it's like good for you, but do you see that as being a problem at all?
Yeah, I do see some issues with it, just because there's a lot of like you're losing a lot when you take it out of this 1,000-year-old tradition and just using it to reduce stress or increase productivity, which of course are good things, and like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it
Mm.
like to like get the most out of it, there is um, a lot more to it, like the ethics and the understanding of of the more metaphysical part.
Yeah, like this kind of secular practice doesn't, like, it's kind of standalone, almost like it's not encompassed with a whole framework.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like it'll help you in the short term, I think, but it doesn't like we're talking about like the ultimate end of suffering in this and that. Like I don't see that leading to like ultimately ending suffering. So it really depends on what your goals are, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Um, what would you say to somebody that like would say like prove it? Like, how do you know these things are true?
Hmm. I would just tell them like try for yourself. Like that's another big thing in Buddhism. He always like the Buddha always said that like don't take my word for it. Like try it yourself and see. Like
Mm.
there's I mean obviously there is like some dogma now in the Buddhist tradition, which is kind of inevitable, but it like um I think that's kind of where it differs from a lot of other religions, that there's not as much of emphasis on faith.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what has led to the secular mindfulness movement, that like it kind of fits so well with like our scientific worldview.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. That's good. Yeah, I like that. I like that about like Buddhist teachings, is that you don't really have to believe anything you don't like experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's good like that.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to say?
Um, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Yeah, me too. Well, I guess that's it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you have any questions, let us know. I hope you liked the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe.